I apologize for being a little late on this one, but I figured, well, everyone else is doing it, so I thought I would review the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Angry Video Game Nerd is a satirical web series, or rather, the satirical web series. I mean, it was created by James Rolfe about a decade ago, roughly, give or take, and before that, the internet was mainly used as a source. Well, let me put it this way: it was not used as a source of income a lot of the time, or at least not in the way that it is today. The Angry Video Game Nerd was a web series that starred a hard-drinking, swearing, angry, nerdy gamer who looked at old games from the 80s and 90s, primarily Nintendo games, but he would occasionally venture into things like Sega Genesis, Atari, and even Nintendo 64 and PlayStation on occasion. And he would swear, he would question the intentions of the developer, he would question the validity of the developer at times. And he would relate to his audience, he would relate to gamers, because basically anyone who has ever played a video game has gotten angry at said video game. And for several years now, he has made a profit off of this. He's become a very popular internet figure, and he was very much a pioneer, because since his debut, a slew of other internet critics have have come on the scene, and since then the internet has become a very popular source of online reviews. I mean, you don't really have to things like the newspaper or televised reviews like Siskel and Ebert used to do. They are no longer the only source of feedback. You can go to these web reviews or for entertainment and to hopefully point you in the right direction of good works of fiction and bad works of fiction. Now, the movie itself is something that James Rolfe has been wanting to do for years. I don't really think many people can question the guy's talent as a web producer. However, he has always wanted to make a feature film, and this particular one was secured by internet crowdfunding. I mean, he's been working on it for several years, and the reason it's taken so long is because he's been trying to work on his show. He's been editing shots. He's been working very hard. I mean, principal photography I think ended about 2 years ago, give or take, and since then he's been doing effects. He's been doing all this post production stuff while doing his web series. So needless to say, there was a lot of work thrown into this, and by extension, there was a lot of anticipation for it. Not just by his fans, but a lot of people. Really, this movie is a testament to how far internet entertainment has come over the past several years. Because, like I said, this is James Rolfe was really the first, and since then others have popped up, like that guy with the glasses and stuff like that. So that naturally, there's a lot riding on this movie. People wanted to see if James Rolfe can actually sustain one's attention for a time period beyond a 20-minute web episode. Yes and no. I mean, overall the movie is good. I just want to get that out there. This is not a bad movie, and a lot of aspects in it are very admirable. Um, it is somewhat limited by its budget, but for the most part, I think it is a very competent first attempt. Um, Not to be too frank, but the plot is Rolf plays his character, the angry video game nerd. He's been requested for years by his fans to review one of the worst, if not the worst game ever made, E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. Now, for those of you who don't know, E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial was a game made for Atari that was meant to cash in on the movie of the same name by Steven Spielberg. Um, Howard Scott Warshaw had 5 weeks to design the game. Now, anyone who has ever done anything in the way of video game design knows that this is not enough. I mean, even me, who just took a video game design class in high school, and just designed very, very basic stuff with a current program, knows that this is not enough time. And like I said, I was not working under nearly the same conditions as Howard Scott Warshaw. So 5 weeks is not enough time to design a game. So so as a result, it was rushed, it was glitchy, it just was unfinished. And as a result, of overestimation of revenue and profits, they overproduced. I mean, they produced way too many copies of this game, and as a result, since no one would buy them, they dumped them all into a landfill. So so this movie details, it's very much a fictionalized account of what really went on, and is there more, are there more to these cartridges than meets the eye? I mean, there's this big secret at this Atari landfill, blah blah blah. I'm not really going to give too much away, but I don't really know what to say about this movie that, in all honesty, can really be cannot really be said about the web series, because it does feel like an angry video game nerd movie. That's not to say that it doesn't have a movie format. It does feel more cinematic than your standard angry video game nerd episode, because those are fairly self-contained. They mostly stay in one location. This is feature length. This actually has location shooting. Rolfe and Kevin Finn did a pretty good job directing this, and organizing this whole operation. But I don't really know how accessible this movie is going to be to someone who does not watch the Angry Video Game Nerd, or has never even seen the Angry Video Game Nerd web series. And in that sense, I kind of liken this to Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. When I saw Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods in the theater, I think I mentioned, or I was at least thinking to myself, this is a movie that is not necessarily made for the general public. This is made for the fans. And to a certain extent, I think the same can be said for the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. I'm not saying that this movie is poorly made. It still has your basic 3-act structure. It has character development. It's not entirely a piece of fan service, but fan service was definitely in the repertoire here. I don't really think anyone is disputing that. But as for the acting, Rolfe, he plays his character. He plays it well. I mean, he knows his character very well at this point, and I think the advantage with the Angry Video Game Nerd character and how relatable he is to a lot of gamers is actually makes him a pretty likable protagonist. I mean, no one says he has to be angry all the time, and the fact that we've seen this character established over the past decade definitely helps. This character has been fine-tuned over the decade. I can't believe it's been a decade. But this character has been fine-tuned, it's been established, and I think the character of the Angry Video Game Nerd works better than other internet personalities like, I don't know, the Nostalgia Critic. So yeah, I definitely think he has a better range of emotions that make him a more likable protagonist than some of the characters, or a lot of the characters that guy with the glasses puts in their movies. And we also got some other Hollywood talent. I think Sarah Glendening, I think her name is. If that's not how you say her last name, then I'm sorry. But she plays Mandy, this representative of of Cockburn Industries or something like that. She's actually really fun. She's really likable. You would think, being this snooty representative, snooty representative, she would be just this stick in the mud. I don't really know why I did that voice, but there you go. She's actually really fun. She's cynical. She's sarcastic. She's she has this really likable energy to her, and honestly, I think she has pretty good chemistry with Rolf. I wish she got more to do in the grand scheme of things. But when she's there and when she's playing off of other characters, she's actually a lot of fun. I like a lot of her comebacks. Jeremy Suarez, Coda from Brother Bear, he plays Cooper, who's this big time fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd and has basically appointed himself as his assistant slash cameraman and driver, basically attending to his every whim. He's basically the comedic sidekick, and this can either go really well or really bad. I think it leans more towards well because Cooper, he's not annoying. He's definitely more supportive than annoying. You definitely do get a genuine connection and a budding friendship between these two. There's not really a great deal of hostility between these two, as opposed to something like I don't know, Rush Hour, where the two are constantly fighting. No, the nerd just kind of accepts it. I mean, you occasionally get this look where he's just like, oh God, here we go. But for the most part, Cooper and the relationship he has with the nerd, the friendship, I bought. Like I said, I think they have pretty good chemistry, like with Mandy. And really, probably one of the most entertaining characters is this guy named General Onward, and he's the bad guy. He's basically Bill O'Reilly. Um, not to put not to put too fine a point on it, but he's Bill O'Reilly. I mean, he's this jingoistic "Hoorah, America" general who who's just vulgar. He's always angry. He's always putting other people down. And his definition of homeland security a lot of the time comes down to blowing stuff up. So he's this very exaggerated military figure. And yeah, I don't mean to offend anyone here, but honestly, yeah, he really did strike me as this Bill O'Reilly type character when I was watching him. I don't really know if that was by intention, but I was really laughing a lot while watching him. Not that Bill O'Reilly is a military figure, but just in the way that this guy was carrying himself, the way that his attitude shone through, the way that he reacted to other people, the way that he communicated with them, the way that he always put them down. I was I was like, this guy could be on Fox News. But I'm not real big into politics. He's actually a lot of fun, and one thing that has to be said, you can definitely tell that James Rolfe had a big hand in creating this movie, not just from a directorial standpoint, but from everything from the script to the effects. The effects are intentionally bad, because a lot of the time the camera focuses on these miniatures, and they're so blatantly miniatures. Because say say General Onward, he's take when he dies. Spoiler alert. Do you really care? He goes off this cliff, and instead of actually resorting to something like CGI, which they probably could have done. Granted, I don't really know how realistic it would have looked given their budget, but instead of using CGI, they actually built a little miniature General Onward and sent him over this little miniature cliff that looked about, I don't know, 3 feet tall, and kind of burst into flames. And just the way the sparks are going, and just the way that they there's not really this sense of huge scope to the explosion. You can definitely tell it's a miniature, but again, I think that was by intent. And keeping with that pattern, there's of course a giant monster who shows up toward the end, around the third act. And James Rolfe, being a big time monster movie fan, namely Godzilla, you having the monster in there and having him trample all over these miniatures, you can definitely see the inspiration that Rolfe took from a lot of these old school kaiju movies, in particular Godzilla. I don't really know how. Again, I don't really know how well the uninitiated will pick up on that. But I think a lot of the reason that I picked up on that is because I too am a huge fan of the Godzilla film series. And I don't know if my eyes have just been trained to pick these things up. And even when it looks good, even when the production value was a little higher, say uh, actually, no, I'm not going to dwell on that. This very much feels like a B movie, and again, I think that was by intent. Whenever something is laughable in this movie, it feels intentional, right down to a lot of the very vulgar humor. And it's not vulgar to the point where it becomes insulting to the audience's intelligence. It's just vulgar in keeping with the style of the original show. James Rolfe, I don't really think has ever insulted his audience's intelligence. He very much relates to his audience, and I think there's that fine line. If I had one problem with the movie, I would say that it's too long. I don't really think this movie needed to be. This movie pushes 2 hours, and I think it really could have stood to be 90 minutes. I think if they had trimmed parts of this movie out, not only would it have gotten to us sooner, as a lot of the fans wanted, but I think it would have moved along at a brisker pace. And another issue I have is that toward the end, specifically toward the climax, I think the movie gets a little bit overblown. I think there is too much plot going on. I think if they had I don't want to say streamlined, but somewhat simplified the story toward the end, then I and also like I said, shortened it. I think we could have had a more a smoother climax and a smoother third act than we have. But as it is, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, I think you definitely get what you pay for. Um, like I have been saying throughout this entire video, if you do not like the Angry Video Game Nerd, then I don't really know why you would rent this movie. But if you do like the Angry Video Game Nerd, I can't really see any reason why you would dislike this movie. There is a lot of fan service. The character is there. The new characters that are introduced are fairly enjoyable. The writing is pretty consistent with Rolf's web series, and for a first attempt, I think I think there is a lot of effort, and in my opinion, it pays off. Is it one of the best movies I've seen all year? No, but like I said, I don't really think you could. If you're being fair, I don't really think you can compare this to something like, I don't know, Edge of Tomorrow or X-Men: Days of Future Past, because like I said, um, some of the quote unquote issues with this movie are intentional. Like I said, the cheesy effects, and the vulgar humor, blah blah blah. So yeah, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. I don't really know if this helped. I don't really know if you really care about my 2 cents, but nevertheless, I have given it to you.